you here. And I am thrilled to share with each of you our guest speaker tonight, Justin Morris. I want to just wrap my arms around this man because I have known his story for a long time. I've had the privilege of a front row seat of watching his amazing life unfold, and who and what he represents. It's a gift. It's an anointing is how I describe it. So for those of you that are just tuning in, my name is Sarah Hine, and I love seeing the best in people and believing in them until they can believe in themselves. And a big topic today that we're going to talk about is something that I think the world is struggling with. Every family is faced with it. If you don't think you're not faced with it, you're lying. We are all going to have really hard seasons in our life. And I went through hard seasons in my life and didn't even realize or recognize the fact that I myself was going into depression. And I think that our generation, so I was an 80s girl, I grew up, my memories are from the 80s. Mental health was for like the crazies, right? Like that's how we had physical education. We got graded on physical education, but there was no mental health. That was for like the weird crazies. And what happened is we all grew up and we realized that, we had educated, we had professional people that were athletes, they had college degrees, they were successful, they were moms, they were dads or husbands and wives. And behind closed doors in the closet, they weren't okay. They weren't okay. And there's a lot of people right now that are not okay. And so listen, I want you to tune in tonight because we got hope for you. So without further ado, I want to introduce Justin Morris, and I'm going to wing this bio because
I sent you one in the chat if you want it.
You did, but you know what? I'm just going to speak from my heart if that's cool.
I love it.
And then you can ad lib to the bio. You can ad lib to the bio what I missed out on. But Justin is an amazing husband, an amazing father. And is my memory serving you right to six?
Yep, six kids.
Children?
Yep.
I got it, 6 kids, 6 children. He's a career-minded person that is becoming an up-and-coming successful entrepreneur, but it has not come without overcoming a really hard past. A past that, has probably fair to say haunted him. And I saw Justin as he was I met him when he was just on this brink of like a tipping point, a turning point in his life. And now I get to see who he's stepping into. So without further ado, Justin, welcome to.
Hi. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. So good to be here.
So good to have you. So Justin, share with everyone your past, your story, where you were before you were introduced to this amazing brand, Amare.
Wow. When you said a book, you are correct in that assumption. And honestly, I know I'm not the only one. To assume that I'm the only one that has a life riddled with pain and sorrow and grief and mistakes and errors, I'd be fooling myself. I know that there's many watching today that can relate very much to me and to Sarah and to so many others that have had a colorful past. Now, just to give you a bit of a backstory, Sarah, and all those that are listening, I'm going to share this part of my story, and I want you to promise me something, all of you that are listening. And the promise I want you to make to me and to yourself is that you won't listen and think, oh my word, how sad for him, or oh my word, what a hard life he's led. I need you to promise me that instead of saying those words, instead you look for the hope, the message of hope that I am going to be sharing today. So to give you kind of a basis and a foundation of where all this began, I was about 2 years old when my mother and my father were tragically taken from our family, and they passed away in a plane accident. They were traveling home from, and my father was the pilot, and they were traveling home from Idaho to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they didn't make it. And now I don't remember them at this point. I don't physically remember them being in this realm. I don't remember having them in my life. I was so little. But fast forward several years, I got passed around from family to family to family, all families that in their own right loved me and my sisters so incredibly much. And I loved them for that. I learned so much from every one of them. When I was 9 years old, I moved in with my sweet sister and her husband. And over the course of the next 9 years, it was apparent that there was something missing in my life. And not only was there something missing in my life, but there was about 9 years where abuse and neglect and a lot of turmoil that I had to pass through during those 9 years. And I look back at that time, and I think, oh, why did I have to go through that? And I've asked myself that question so many times, Sarah. So many times did I ask myself that question. Why did I have to pass through, after all that had already happened? Why did I have to pass through that trial at the most formative years of my life? And it wasn't until about 10 years later that I finally understand. So, I kept moving through life. At age 18, I left in the middle of the night, and many would say that I ran away. I guess you could say that. I think I was running to myself at that time. I wasn't running away from anything. I was running to find myself, running to find the peace and the happiness and the balance that I so desperately needed. Self-care, which I'm going to talk about riddled throughout today, was at the forefront of my mind and my heart at that time, that very scary time of my life. So a couple years later, after serving a mission for my church, I came home and I married my high school sweetheart. Oh.
The emotion always hits, Justin, when you talk about the love of your life. I get it. I get it.
Oh man, my wife, Nancy, is by far the greatest treasure and the greatest blessing that I have ever received. That was this message of hope at a very, very young age to be made. It was so awesome. When I think back at what a godsend that was to meet her at such a young age, I realized, yeah, he has me, he's got me. But we got married about 2.5 months after I came home from a mission from my church in South America. And life was amazing, right? I had the love of my life. She's beautiful. She is beautiful, you guys. And, I'm going to school, and, we're just this newly married couple. And then we have a baby about 18 months later. And suddenly I realized that life isn't the way that I planned. In fact, here's a little taste. We're sitting together in one of our first homes on the floor with our new baby who's just taking cereal for the first time. And she offers me the spoon to help feed our son. So I grab a little bit of cereal on the spoon, and I coax his mouth open, and he would not take it from me. So I tried a little more and he wouldn't take it. And suddenly, Sarah, I had this feeling inside of me that just was like this anger and frustration that he would not take this cereal from me. And so my wife saw this, and she said, if you want to have any more kids, I suggest you get that figured out. It was then that I realized that no matter how much I wanted to escape what I had grown up with, it was still there. And I had to learn a different way. The years that followed were years that were riddled with this emptiness in my heart for having missed my parents and a childhood that was somewhat normal, for parents that loved me and cared for me and wanted to include me in their life, there was this black hole in my heart that was inescapable. And no matter how hard I tried to fill that black hole with good things, it was insatiable. And I could not fill it. And I began to spiral down as the years progressed, to the point where I knew that I needed some help. And my friends, I am a huge proponent right now that when it comes to depression, you do what works for you. If that's medication, you do medication. If it's exercise, if it's drinking more water, if it's resting, if it's yoga, if it's getting more sleep, if it's taking supplements, you do whatever it takes. And sometimes it's all of those things. And I didn't have those tools, Sarah. The years progressed, and I was on medication, and I finally decided that, okay, I'm feeling really good. I'd learned some tools to manage my thoughts and my emotions from some amazing mentors, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna whittle myself off of this medication, which was so difficult, but we did it. We did it, and I felt great until I didn't. And and over the next few years, entered some of the most trying times of my life. And that's where we met, Sarah.
Yep.
I remember specifically one night. I want to paint a picture for you. Here is a man who is successful in his career. Here was a man who had 6 beautiful children who are the light of his life and who are so filled with light and love and so talented and smart. And oh my gosh, how did I ever get so blessed with such an amazing family? I had talents and gifts and abilities that other people oftentimes would tell me that they really enjoyed. I had a home with acreage and animals and a huge garden. I had cars, I had health, I had so many things. But what I didn't have was that plug in that black hole in my heart that said, no matter what you do, you will never, ever be enough. You will never, ever be worthy of the blessings that you have. I remember one specific night, the house was silent and I could not sleep. The thoughts swirling in my mind, my heart sinking and trashed. It just felt so thrashed and torn apart in so many pieces. So I walked into our closet and I grabbed a bottle of prescription pills. And I sat there wondering, okay, I've tried everything. I've tried coaching, I've tried mentoring, I've tried counselors and therapists and medication and exercise. Nothing's working. I have everything, but I have nothing. As I sat there contemplating, looking at this bottle of pills, something constrained my hand. And I'm so grateful that happened. The next morning, I reluctantly told my wife what had transpired the night before. And she took my hand and she said, okay, let's do this thing. It wasn't even, I don't think it was even a week later that I received a message from Ann Washburn introducing me to this amazing brand, Amari. And I was not in a state, friends, to make any decisions for myself. And I told my wife, I said, okay, I can swallow some pills and I can drink a drink. If that's what you want me to do, I can do that, but don't ask me to do anything else. Hopefully you can all feel the state of mind and state of being that I was in at that time, because it was a state where the man you see today with the smile and the energy that I have and the joy that I'm feeling today, he was asleep and he was kind of trapped in a little bit of a prison and needed to be unearthed. As I started taking these products, it was about 5 weeks later that my wife commented, "Hey, I just saw your hips twitching when we were doing the dishes." And I thought, I mean, I was dancing a little bit. And it was about a couple weeks later when I started to notice a difference. And Sarah, I kid you not, you say, it's cool to see me unfold, but to watch myself unfold is by far the greatest miracle I have experienced in my life ever. To see the amount of fulfillment that I'm having today, how that my stress and my anxiety and my depression are moved down to normal levels, what normal people feel when they're stressed or when they're nervous. That's how I'm feeling today. And now I'm producing events. I finished writing a book. Oh my gosh, I have this thriving coaching business. I am a lead designer for an architecture firm designing temples for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I could not be more full, but yet more full of life and joy and promise. I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to stop there. You asked me a question.
Justin, no, I'm trying to maintain my composure and not bawl, because I know where I was when I took the leap of faith to come to this company and brand, and I was inspired by my husband. I feel like many men are left behind right now. And my husband was, many men are left behind right now. I will just say that. It is what it is. And we need to save them. And I met you for the first time at a conference, and we were in a room. I'll never forget it. My husband was there and he witnessed it, and I saw you vulnerably break down. And it was so good for my husband, because he had been struggling with his illness for years and privately held it. Our men were always shaped to be men and strong, but when they were hurting and you have children, like, you don't always do that, right? And now I feel like many men have been just stripped from all of that, right? And so suicide is the highest in men. It's in the highest in middle-aged men.
It
1.4 million people attempted suicide this last year. 1.4 million. And listen, I'm not saying that this is going to fix everything, but listen, we're on to something. And we need to shout this to the rooftops, because it's as Dr. Sean, who has created this amazing brand through Amare Global, it's a multifactorial approach. And so, Justin, what I want to do for those that are listening is I want to talk a little bit about, you really went through this in a multifactorial approach. And I want to give people hope and help them understand what started to happen to you. This is not about taking a pill and everything's going to make you better and you're just going to wake up rosy and cheerful. Right? Justin, you know that it was, doing your mentorship, your counseling, eating healthy. We now know that your food is your mood. Mm-hmm. And my husband used to be a builder, and he was in the construction world. And I have a son now who's in the construction world. And I'm telling you, I love construction men. Like, our trades are so important, and they're not honestly honored enough, to be very honest. They're not honored enough, and we can't exist without them. But you know what scares me, Justin? So for all of you that know someone in construction, please send this to them. Okay, please send this to them, because we love you, we value you, and listen, stop eating like crap. I have a son-in-law in construction. I have a son in construction, and they are healthy eaters, and they get teased. And where did we get to treating our men like it's okay to eat like crap and drink caffeinated beverages and eat at Quick Trip every day? And that's okay. That's accepted. It's not okay. It's affecting your moods and it's screwing up your gut health. So when you got onto Amare, you started to replenish these specific strains of bacteria that started to wake up your body and reset it. Can you just kind of give an expectation? I mean, you were really struggling. Is that fair to say? Like, you were really You're a hot mess,
I
Justin.
was a
Let's just call
hot
it.
mess. I was,
It was a hot mess.
and yeah.
Okay, so right, so being a hot mess,
Mhm.
tell us that journey, like when, how many weeks, months, like what was that journey like? Did you kind of stop taking it for a while? Like we want to know the dirt just to kind of have an idea of what
Oh,
to expect.
yeah. And so I'm going to be frank with you guys because, and my journey is not going to be the journey of everyone else. When I was sitting in that closet with that bottle of pills, not only was my hand constrained, but I also received clear direction that I was to not take medication. My journey is not your journey. I'm not going to
Mm,
profess to say that medication is correct or incorrect for anyone. But for me, I knew that it was not correct for me at that time. So we did embark on this journey. And before I actually started taking Amari, we had tried several other products from other health food or naturalist um, products like doTERRA, and doTERRA is wonderful. We use doTERRA, so I'm not dissing them, but I did not receive a benefit from them. And there was another company that was kind of this conglomeration that I tried, and I once again did not receive a benefit from them either. So when I began Amari, that's all I could do. I committed to my wife that I would take Amari every single day. And that's all I could promise. I would not promise to exercise. I would not promise to drink more water or to go to bed earlier. I would not promise to do anything else but to do that. And so that's what I did, Sarah. And I was so faithful at that. I was, I would dare say that I was 100% faithful because of that commitment I had made with her, that I would take this product daily. And
mm.
little by little, this is what you're asking. I remember one morning, or I woke up, it was a little earlier than normal, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go for a run, which meant a lot. That said a lot. I'm a runner actually from my past life, like my childhood and growing up and even to my adulthood, but I had not run at all. And I was heavier than I had ever been in my life actually. And so I got up and I threw on my shorts and I went for a run outside. And I didn't go for a run again for a while, but it was a wake-up call to me that something was happening. And as I
Mhm.
began to continue being faithful with taking these supplements, suddenly I decided, you know what, some of these foods that I'm consuming, they actually aren't serving me at all. In fact, when I don't consume them, I feel better. And so I made this internal commitment at this time. It was like the motivation was so extremely strong. Like I was actually excited to stop consuming some of the foods that were causing me inflammation and also, headaches and things like that. And so I stopped, and
Wow.
the weight started being released, and I was feeling better. And then I went out running more and exercising more. I got a running partner. We started running almost every day, and I released 40 pounds. And I think it was within 5 months. And then I had this idea. This is right before COVID hit. I have this book that I'd started years before. I should finish that. Now, granted, I've had that same thought for I don't know how many years since I started that book. But then COVID hit and suddenly everyone's at home. And I thought, I'm going to finish this book in a month. And so I did. I finished it in a month.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I made that determination, that motivation was there, and I did it. Fast forward, I started really understanding the tools that I had learned previously, to help manage my
Yeah.
emotions and everything. And they made sense and they worked. And now I don't know. It's a completely different story for me.
Wow. I love that you painted that picture because so many times we look at health as getting a fitness instructor and eating super healthy and jumping all in. And I think that we have to understand that it's consistency over time and it
Yes.
builds.
Yeah.
If you're not exercising right now, like listen, just
Yeah.
begin. And
Yeah.
stay consistent and build upon that.
Mhm.
And what you described was you started to awaken the signaling in your body,
Yeah.
and you're signaling the right way started to say, no, wait, I want to go for a run. I want to
Exactly.
start eating healthy. I begin to feel better when I'm eating healthy. And we have so gone around health backwards. It's all or
Yeah.
nothing. And it's destructive. It is
Yeah.
destructive. What I want to encourage anyone listening to this is, listen, wherever you're at, if you change nothing, nothing will change. And you cannot go wrong restoring gut and brain health. You cannot go wrong. And, reach out to, whether it's me or, somebody that shared this with you, reach out. And what if, Justin's friend Anne thought so highly of Justin that she loved him enough to share this with him. And what if you shared this recording with somebody you love, right? To say, listen, there's always hope. And really living into a state of hope is taking ownership to our health. It's also having something fun to look forward to. And I want to challenge all of you to, it's a crazy world we're in right now. We're all seeing things that we've never seen. We've read about in history books, some crazy stuff, but never lived through it, right? And we're living through it. And it's going to be real easy for PTSD to start really sinking in for a lot of people for many different reasons, right? There's all this division. We're not going to talk about all that, but it's just a lot. And if we start taking ownership to our health and we start taking care of ourselves and have something fun to look forward to, and that's what I told Justin earlier, is I want to tell people, like, listen, plan some fun things, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Like, plan. I loved what you said, and I don't know if it was even recorded when you said this earlier, but you are being intentional about spending the time with the ones you love, your family.
Yeah.
Justin, I love that. Like, we are so rat raced and programmed and brainwashed culturally to be here and be there and put our kids in this and put our kids in that. And there's no more intentional time with our families anymore.
It's so true.
And it's destroying us. It's destructive. And what is that giving us? What edge on life is that giving us or our children? Nothing, people, nothing.
And I think
Nothing.
this is the difference between self-care and self-soothing. Self-care is that very intuitive practice of really reaching in and intentionally taking action on those things that will help us to heal and our well-being and our happiness and our state of being. Self-soothing is reaching outward to busyness or to hobbies or to media or shopping to basically in a way to find validation for our suffering. So, are we buffering? Are we self-soothing? Or are we actually practicing self-care and doing that thing that is so hard, but our soul is craving it? That is self-care.
I love it. I love it. So I want you to listen to all this, because this is Justin's bio now. He is the creator of the Color Alignment Protocol and brand new groundbreaking energy healing and alignment modality, which utilizes the energetic power of color. He has used color to create physical spaces of healing for the last 20 years in his career. I'm just reading this. In his career as a professional interior designer in spaces like corporate offices, homes, resorts, and temples for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He has taken his lifelong study. Oops, I'm missing here your notes. Hang on a second. His lifelong study of, and I can't, it's like going so fast here, of color psychology, an incredible intuitive gift for seeing colors of a person's soul and use them as a guide to get to the core issues people are facing. And now he is a life coach, an energy healer, and an award-winning keynote speaker. Listen to this, you guys. I mean, is this not amazing how he has turned around his life, and now he's helping people become their highest version of themselves. And he's been married to his wife, Nancy, now for 22 years. Just think about that. just think about how you've been able to rewrite the script of your life. And now, Justin, you're becoming this successful coach, an author, keynote speaker, and you became so passionate about the brand that I represent that now you've become an entrepreneur with it. And you're coaching the clients that you're working with, you're like, this is what you've got to do, because this is what's going to help be a piece of the puzzle to help you live your best life. Justin,
So
can you
true.
just, to close here, can you just end how, talk a little bit about that passion of turning this now into another stream of income? You've
Oh
got
my gosh, you
this
guys.
into
I
so many
can't
new-
even tell you like how this has blessed my life, first of all. So how can I keep it silent? How can I keep something to myself that has literally been a huge turning point and keystone of my life? That is what's beautiful about this whole story, Sarah. When I say we're going to talk about how depression saved me, it's because I had depression, that I had to hyper focus on so many different areas to help me to feel better, to the point where now I'm in a position to really, really help people at a different level. So yes, being a coach is fantastic. I've done it for years, but unsuccessfully, because well, not unsuccessfully, but there are many times where people were needing more than just tools. There were real gut issues that they needed to help to mitigate and to start regulating in order for the tools to actually work. And so that helped me in my business as a coach to finally have people who were not only ready to learn, but also able to take the things that I was teaching and incorporate them into their life and see their lives getting better and better and better. So not only, this is a whole other avenue. This multiple streams of income is something that I had never considered before, Amari. And now I'm seeing that it's going to be such a tremendous blessing for me and my family as I begin to continue developing this business alongside my coaching business and finding two streams of income that will allow me greater freedom to live the life that we desire as a family, to be healthy, to be happy, and to use your phrase, to live the ultra rare life.
I love it. I love it. That's what I'm after, is to help anyone and everyone create their version of an ultra rare life. When my husband was diagnosed with these diseases, that it felt incredibly depressing. And then I went and looked on Google the definition of ultra, the definition of rare, and the definition of life. I actually did this. This is how my podcast was birthed, and it was beautiful. And I'm like, well, I want an ultra rare life. Let's all live an ultra rare life, because go look up the definition. And listen, part of that is also financial wellness. And we are going to need to teach people this more than ever, because multiple stream of incomes is going to be a massive security for all of our families as we go through these uncertain times. And not dependent on any one, right? And so, Justin, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for just sharing the rawness and vulnerability of your story. It is what it is, right? But, you didn't stay there. And
No.
that's the key. You didn't stay there, and it made you who you are. But you had to be willing to make some, changes. You had to be willing to be consistent. And once you do that, you've become unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable. So thank you, Justin.
Can I share one last thing? Just one thing.
Please.
It's this message, friends. Don't assume that everyone is okay. When you notice a man or a boy in your life that is separated from his emotion, that is a key sign that he is going down a path that is separated from his divine self, which will only lead to one place, and that is deep depression and anxiety. If you have a woman or a girl in your life that is separated from her sensuality or her sense of beauty, it's the same thing. It looks different on men and women. Men separate from emotion, women forget their beauty. When you see that, that is when we get to step in and share some amazing tools. Don't assume that the loved ones in your life are okay. Ask them, watch them, look for the signs.
Mm. Oh, I just got goosebumps. Did y'all take notes on that? And listen, if someone pops into your mind, act on that. I feel like that is the Holy Spirit speaking to us, saying, reach out to someone, call them, ask them. Even if you don't know, but you just have a feeling, it's a gut feeling, just encourage them to say, hey, I'm working on getting myself healthy. Do you want to get yourself healthy with me? I need a partner. You just never know, you guys. You never
It's so
ever
true.
know. Justin, thank you for that, because that is honestly life-saving advice. And don't forget our veterans. You guys are veterans. Oh my gosh, so many of them are suffering. Our teenagers, there is no person or no category that is untouched by this. And there's no shame in it. Like, listen, Justin is a pillar of, it can be rewritten. It doesn't have to be that story. It can be rewritten. So Justin, thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And listen, for those of you that want more information, please reach out to the person that brought you here. Or if you're listening to the replay on this, talk to the person that tagged you in this message. If you're listening to this tonight and you're like, gosh, I want to know about all of this, or I'm using Amare, I'm already getting great, results on it, and I want to improve my financial wellness. If that is you, join me tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. Every Wednesday night, we talk about how you can create financial wellness as another platform of Amare. And you can do a little or a whole lot. It has rewritten my family's life. 5 years ago, when my husband was disabled from an illness, I said, not on my watch. I am not going to live in our 40s and the rest of our life dependent on disability. Sorry, not happening. So I am humbled to say I retired him. And so it is possible. And if you want to learn how I did that, join me tomorrow night. I am going to teach you how. Okay, there's a lot here. We have a lot to offer, and education is empowerment. And that's what we're here to do, is educate you with the facts, with the tools to help you. So listen, God bless you all. Thank you, Justin. We love you all. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
And make sure you keep this. All right, God bless you all. Thanks,
Thank you.
Justin. Bye, everyone.